Hey everybody and welcome back. This is Evo Woodhouse with you again. I am bringing you game number 2 between Deathwaffles and Jleli. This took place on Tal'Darim Altar, and currently Jleli is up with a count of 1-0 over Deathwaffles. Let's see if he can put it away and finish the series 2-0, or if Deathwaffles comes back to tie up the series, bringing it down to that crucial rubber match. Just a quick kind of funny story with this match. I went to cast it earlier today. I had everything set up. I was, getting ready to go into it. Went into it. I think actually the recording came out perfectly. The only problem is there was no recording. I forgot to hit my local record key, and needless to say, I spent the duration of the game shoutcasting at my computer. So, yeah, you can definitely tell it is my first rodeo, so to say. But we're going to take you right into the game here now. Spawning down here in the bottom left side, we have Deathwaffles, our pink Terran, and spawning over here on the right side, we have our orange Zerg, Jleli. And I do apologize if I'm butchering anybody's names throughout this tournament. Please feel free to contact me via BNet or even through the Hivemind page, and let me know that I butchered something. I promise I won't take offense to it. Right now, we just see both players doing their usual shtiff. We see Deathwaffles going for a little bit of the wall-in action here in Tal'Darim Altar. You'll notice though that this is not MLG Tal'Darim. Like we said in the previous cast, there were a couple games that got played on different maps. We just decided to go with it this week. Be sure to tune in for next week's games. They will be taking place on GSL Belshire Beach to start, and then after that we'll see where it takes us, but they should be some good matches all the way around. Again, you can find us on Facebook at MSU Hivemind. You can find Evolution Gaming on Facebook as well. But right now, let's get back into the action. We see the barracks, the initial barracks, going down for Deathwaffle on number 12. One gas guys are going down as well. We also see Jleli doing what he did in the previous game, and that was to do a fast expand. It ends up being a 14 hatch using the 15th drone so I guess actually that would be a 15 hatch, excuse me. So we're back down in here just looking around. It looks like he's sending the overlords out now. As I said before, the main difference between the MLG GSL maps and the normal Blizzard maps is where you spawn. So we see these two players spawning on the bottom portion of the map. That means ideally they're going to expand up the map. If you can see where my cursor is moving on the mini-map, like those would be safer expansions. Because I don't know many people that like actually expanding towards their opponent. I know for a fact myself I do not like to unless I have to. We do see the orbital timing a little bit late for Deathwaffles up here. That is completely fine. We also see the scoutingness going on from each player. Again, since these are not the GSL or MLG versions, they do spawn with the potential to spawn right next to each other like they did, so it's a shorter rush distance, but still pretty big considering it's Tal'Darim. In the other versions, we would see one player spawn here and his opponent spawn where Deathwaffles is, or where Jleli is, and up here in this top corner. That's the main difference. No big deal other than that. Like I said, we see double queens in production now. Pool finally went down, still no metabolic boost. He is doing just kind of a gasless expand, which is becoming a lot more common. I do apologize once again if you hear any dead spots during these casts. I may have had to dump my mic momentarily to cough. I've been getting over a cold, and yeah, it's definitely not the funnest thing I've ever been through, so I do apologize. We do see a double gas coming out from Deathwaffles with one of his guys is undersaturated. Hopefully he gets that fixed here soon. That's a definite problem if he decides to go any sort of gas-heavy play. So here now we see a few Marines out. We see another command center going down. It looks like he's getting ready to expand. It'll be interesting to see, though, if he decides to leave that in his base to make the orbital and let the energy charge up on it, before he sends it out here into his natural expansion, or if he just decides to float it over there and let things be and morph it the way it is. Um, we see down here in Jleli's base, he is getting a little bit of the oversaturation of drones, but that's okay considering he's just now taking his geysers, so some of that will even out here shortly. He could also transfer drones up here if he was so in that mood. You see right now Jleli does have the supply advantage over Deathwaffles, but as I said in the first game, it's not really that big of a deal, considering most of the supply at this point is spent in workers as opposed to army. I mean, don't get me wrong, Jleli definitely in the econ advantage at the moment, but his opponent has opted to spend a little more time on army. See 2 Hellions coming out, the 4 Marines, and a bunker going down. Just as we had originally thought, he decided to float that out there with no orbital command. The only difference that makes is obviously if you morph it in here in that time that it takes to not only morph but fly over, you get a little bit of extra energy. Maybe a mule, depending upon how far away it is. Going back over here to Jleli's base, we see a roach worm going down. Hopefully he goes into that same style of play that he did last game where he went Ling, Roach, Infester into Broodlord. That was really effective, and we saw him definitely just kind of fist to face Deathwaffles in the last minutes of that game. Broodlords are insanely hard to stop at times, but we do see Blue Flame coming out for these Hellions, so maybe some sort of mech play that would explain the double gas, which he still has not filled in the 1 geyser, by the way. But it would definitely explain why he went with the double gas. We see the Hellions coming in. Can they do the same damage they did in the last game? Oh, looks like they get 1 shot off. The drones are lining up. He lined them up. Oh, and it doesn't actually look like the Hellions get that much damage off on those drones. Let's take a look at the drone count and the workers killed right now. We see 9 workers killed for Deathwaffles. So definitely not as efficient as the first game, but still a hit to Jleli's economy. We see Deathwaffles is still behind in the economy by a considerable amount, actually. But what else do we have going on here? We have 2 more factories and a starport. This can only, in my mind, scream mech, which is probably what's going to happen. There's the siege tank mode. If there was an armory at some point that went down, that would only confirm it. He still has not filled that refinery, by the way. Yet he is taking the other 2 refineries at his natural. Some more Hellions continuing to be produced. It's important if you're going mech to actually have the buffer of the lighter units such as Hellions and Marines to buffer damage for your Thors and siege tanks if that becomes the case. I do see, yes, an armory. So this can only lead me into believing that, yes, he will go into some sort of tech-heavy mech play that is gaining so much attention. We're about to see that, yes, roaches do, in fact, counter Hellions. But, yeah, we're seeing mech start to come into a lot more use now that players are finally starting to understand how it intuitively works and how to hold with it. We do see another expansion going down for Deathwaffles. This is the risk that you do take with this, though. With him going at least at this point some sort of mech, you see this is all he has to defend. This is actually a pretty long rush distance from the front of his natural to this base. This base is actually very vulnerable if Jleli ever does find it. We also see the 3rd for Jleli also going down right now as well. It just finished. The supply is still about 30 food in Jleli's favor at this point. We also see siege tanks. Yay, siege tanks. Okay, so he is definitely going for some sort of mech play at this point. This is kind of a razor's edge play because, as people can attest to, once you break it, it's hard to replenish. And then also at that point, it is very susceptible to counterattacks. It's very easy to siege up here on the edge of the creep and then possibly lose your position if you get overrun or you get counterattacked. We do see roaches coming back here to defend this Hellion drop. Again, we see why Blue Flame Hellions are really good against drones, but apparently not so great against roaches. We do see the pathogen glands going down for the Infestor. So it does look like Jleli is going for similar play to last game. We also do see that he is getting the +2 melee attacks and +1 ground carapace. Still has not started either of these two upgrades out of the Roach Warren yet. You see both players just continuing to tech up, continuing to macro. We do see this base from Deathwaffles is getting down with some of the mules, the Imba mules that are not so Imba anymore since the last patch. They did get changed, sieging up on the high ground. I'm expecting to see, yeah, there we go. There's some Thors coming down now, tacking on more barracks to add for buffer. Both of these players actually hitting Facebook numbers, as Leg TV called them, when it comes to minerals, which is fine, because at least in this case, as Artosis has been quoted as saying, if you can trade your minerals for his minerals as Terran, you're doing well. Or your minerals for his gas and minerals, mainly because of how easy it is to continue to pump Hellions, and how as Terran doing mech, you are gas limited. We see these Marines continuing to just pound away at the destructible rocks, while Jleli is taking his 4th base. Like I said, you'll notice that the natural progression for players is to expand up the sides of this map as opposed to across. Only makes sense. Did this get scouted yet? Or did it even get it at all? The Hellions coming through here. Roasted and Lang's going to get eaten. We do see these roaches coming up. Will they spot the 3rd? We'll check here in a second. See those Marines still pounding away. They have no upgrades, so at this point they're kind of... Oh, this is not good. I mean, at least to Deathwaffles' advantage, there is not that many SCVs here to get rid of. The mules are kind of a loss of energy, but he does manage to lift that command center up. We do see that the supply is starting actually to even out quite a bit. These Marines getting taken out by the Lings down here in the 3rd. And here comes the big, scary death push from Deathwaffles. We do see 2 tanks, 3 Thors, and a bunch of Hellions. The Hellions and Marines acting as buffers, and we see just another string of Marines. More siege tanks being built, I should say, by our neighborhood-friendly Deathwaffles. And we do see Infestors now out on the field for Jleli. Like I said before, if you haven't watched Game 1, I would highly suggest doing it. His Ling, Roach, Infestor, Broodlord play in that game was phenomenal. As we do see, he is going to cut off these 3 Infestor hit squad, the Brofesters. Full energy on all of those, by the way. That could be devastating, but instead deciding to take out the 1 Burrowed Roach. See the army of Jleli continuing to just mass up here in the center. Like I said, the supply has definitely taken into Deathwaffles' favor at 153 to 147. It may not seem like much, but with mech, it has the potential to be quite devastating. Considering that technology is all in Thors and tanks, all very, very powerful units. See the sensor tower up for Jleli, so you can make sure. The only thing I would have said is if he's trying to watch, this back ramp, he catches a little bit of it here, but he catches just that split second as the Zergling comes down and goes up to the ramp. But now we see the big push. Tank sieging up with the medevacs giving vision onto the high ground to allow for the pounding of those drones. You do see Fungals go off on all of the Marines. Well, not all, a few, but not all. We also see the drop starting to income as he elevators his units up to the high ground of Jleli. This gives him the advantage of not having to run through the static defense. As everybody knows, static defense in StarCraft 2 is quite good. Actually, this is a bigger, scarier push than I think anybody thought it would. We do see the supply staying about constant for Deathwaffles at 160. I would like to see that go a little bit higher, but I can't complain at the results he's getting right now. See his Marines on 0-1 upgrades. They are about to go splat. Yes, they did. Those infestors. And we do see it. We do see the neural parasite come out from those infestors on the Thor, but there's just so much stuff flooding into the front of Jleli's base right now. I honestly think at this point, this is GG. These infestors are really weak against Thors. Yes, you can throw that stuff out, but with these siege tanks backing up these Thors, it is definitely not. It's definitely not a good situation. We do see the rest of these infestors, all spent energy getting picked off. He is leapfrogging the tanks up, which is good. Taking out the rest of those units. We can expect to see a GG anytime here, actually. This match is, it's a little far out of reach, but as people do say, all you need is a drone and a chair, and you can win a match. I don't think that's going to be the case here, though, for Jleli. There's just too many units, and the reinforcements streaming over from Deathwaffles' base, streaming into the front of his base to make up the difference. Like I said, anytime now, expect the GG. There it is, right there. And there we see it, game number 2 between Deathwaffles and Jleli. We did see a very, very solid style of mech play out of Jleli that game. As you can see, it's very, very powerful when it does work and you get all the upgrades and everything starts clicking and you've got enough buffers. But other than that, it can be very, very balance-oriented in terms of one wrong move and your opponent swings back into favor. So with that, that wraps up game number 2. Definitely stay tuned. Check out the first game if you haven't done so already. And like I said, stay tuned for game number 3. We'll see you guys.